Hi, I'm sharing 5 principles of self-mastery in 5 days, and you are on video 3. Congratulations. Video 1, we talked about the line. Video 2, we talked about the pull. And in video 3, we're going to be talking about the law. Let's jump right in. So here we have the line. We talked about that. And the line divides positive influences or positive experience in life over here with negative experience in life. We talked about how you can be on one side or the other of the line, but when you cross that line, you are under the influence of that side, of that negative or positive side. Then on our last video, we talked about the pull, that there is actually a pull one way to another on this side. You'll actually get pulled. It's not easy to stay on this side. You'll usually be pulled back this way. There is a pull to the positive side, but generally in our culture, we're not creating that. We're not experiencing that. So it can be a difficult thing. So that's what we've talked about so far. Today we're going to talk about the law. What law am I talking about? Well, it's found in Galatians chapter 6, verse 7. It's known by lots of different names. Here it says this: "For whatsoever a man soweth, that also shall he reap." That's called the law of the harvest. You have the law of cause and effect, the law of abundance. There's a lot of different names for this law, but essentially the law of the harvest or the law of cause and effect. And when I was young, I understood this law. I heard it all over the place, so I understood it this way. If I have something, what I sow, so here's the apple that I sow, I'm going to then reap an apple. What I sow, what I put in is what I get out. So if I put negative things in, I'm going to get negative things out. If I put positive things in, then I'm going to get positive things out. And I remember chatting once again with my grandfather and reading his book and realizing I didn't quite understand this law, what it actually says, because it's not this. It's not what you sow, you reap. It is and it's not. Let's think about it here. So if I have what I'm sowing, let's say here is an apple in my case. If I sow an apple, take a seed from apple, and what do I reap? Well, I don't reap that apple. I actually reap this, the potential of the apple. And what's the potential of the apple? Well, it's to grow a tree, right? So this apple equals this kind of potential. But in time, it's not just that potential. Now, we have to keep in track time, right? In a moment, with time, this apple is just an apple. But if I give it time, its potential starts to reveal and starts to create. And it goes from an apple to a tree. But that's not even the full potential of that apple. Because given a little more time, what will happen to that tree? We're going to see this happen. That tree is going to grow more apples. And we have a 1-to-many ratio. That's why they call it multiplication. We're making many, many multiples of that single apple. But again, giving it time or even generations, if those apples now get planted, then we don't just have a tree, we don't just have more apples, but we have an entire orchard. This is the principle of the law of the harvest. It's what you sow, you reap in multitude. It's what you cause, or what cause and effect. What you cause creates an effect that's magnified or multiplied in our lives. And you can see it all over the place. Of course, we can see it here in the plant kingdom. You can see it in the animal kingdom. You can see it in physics. You can see it all over the place. That what you sow, you can reap in multiple. So what does that mean for us with the line? Well, here I am. We talked about, I've got a brain and a heart. Brain's what I'm thinking, heart's what I'm feeling generally, is kind of how I have it outlined. On the left here, we have positive and negative influences. Now, what happens if I choose to, let's see if I've got my thing here. All right, so what if I choose to think on and focus on the negative things in my life? Now, that can be the negative things that are going on with work. It could be the negative things that's going on with my home, with my marriage. It can be negative things that went on in the past with the relationships I had growing up or experiences for the past. When I focus on that right here, my mind starts to think negative thoughts, right? And so when we have negative thoughts, let's give ourselves a little negative there. Nice and negative. I start to have negative thoughts inside myself. If I keep focusing on it, it'll multiply and I'll have more negative thoughts in there, right? Now here's negative thoughts. Guess what happens when you think negative things? You tend to feel negative things, right? So I'm going to start having feelings that are negative. Or the feelings might be, the thought might not even occur. It may just go straight to feelings. If I had experiences in my past that brought up really negative feelings, I don't even have to think about that. My mind already knows what that experience or what that story or whatever that happened in my life caused. It causes a negative experience, a negative feeling. So it'll jump the gun. I may not even be consciously aware that my mind is making a thought or making a connection. It just goes right in and right down to my heart and creates that negative feeling. So it starts to multiply negative feelings. So we have now negative thoughts, we have negative feelings, and guess what happens? If you have negative thoughts, creating negative feelings, what do you think your actions are going to be like? You're right, your body's going to start acting and doing things that are negative. It's going to create negative things around it. The environment, the relationships we have, things at work, things at home, things with our extended family, things in our community, even things in a nation will start to be more negative because it creates this cycle. Now we have a cycle. We're seeing and we're thinking about negative things. We're feeling negative things from what we think. And we're creating negative things. And that just goes and goes and goes and goes. And you can see how that law of the harvest, it may be one or two negative thoughts, but they have the power to multiply and multiply and multiply over time. The good news is it doesn't have to end there. We can change those things. We can focus on positive and get the benefits that come from multiplying in a positive direction. And we'll share that in the next video. So on this, I wanted to just help you understand the true law of the harvest. What you plant, you reap in multitude. What you cause, you gain the effect of magnified. So if you are focused on the negative, we talked yesterday about the pull of how much media, what kind of negatives coming in. If you're consuming that negative, if you're seeking out that negative, it's going to multiply within you, your thoughts and feelings, and you're going to get pulled right over this way. The good news, like I said, is we do have the opportunity to be positive and get pulled the other way, and we'll talk about that. So where do we go with that? Well, number one, we talked about the line. Remind yourself, or ask yourself, here, let's change that here and down. Ask yourself, what side of the line am I on? Am I positive? Am I negative? The next question, what am I consuming? Where am I going to get, whether it's entertainment, information, education? Is it positive? Is it negative in nature? And if we talked about yesterday, am I consuming a lot of it throughout the day? Am I constantly consuming things of a negative nature? And then ask yourself, what am I multiplying on? Now remember, cause and effect, what you focus on, what you focus in here, and in here, what you focus on here is going to create in here, right? And it's going to create out there, and you'll see it, and it'll be that cycle. What you focus on multiplies. So what are you multiplying? Are you multiplying positive things? Are you multiplying negative things? A good hint here is, what am I unwilling to let go of? If I'm holding on to a negative story, if I'm holding on to a bad experience, if I'm holding on to a grudge, if I'm holding on to anything like that, whether it's from a wife, a parent, whether it's justified or not, if I'm willing to hold on to it, I am multiplying it. Just like a seed, if the soil holds onto that seed, you're going to get a multiplication of that plant. It's the same thing in us. So you'll have a good idea of what you're multiplying if you realize what you're unwilling to let go of. What are you holding in? Tomorrow we'll share our fourth principle. I'm excited to share that with you, and it'll help us turn this around and get us to be more positive in mastering ourselves. Thanks so much for watching. This is number 3 of number 5. Stay tuned for the other 2.